1, 2, 3.
Welcome.
Yeah, where's Tammy?
Let's get on with
Let's
the
do
show.
it. Let's go.
Ready? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Friday.
Friday. Indeed, it is Friday.
Ah, what a week.
What a week, yeah.
What a week. In
Yeah.
a blink of an eye, it's Friday again.
Just, it seems like it's only Wednesday
I know.
today. Yeah, it seems like it's only Wednesday, but it is Friday.
Yes.
That's how it works.
We are going to have an amazing show today.
that is.
For a change.
I like that. Yeah. The seer Tammy. She is
Yeah.
checking her crystal ball. We're gonna have a good one.
Yeah, we're
got to.
We're going to have a good one.
Yep.
Today. Because we are going back to basics.
Back
That's
to basics.
is
Come on,
what
Tammy.
today is about.
Back to basics, Tammy.
I mean, this is where it all began, really,
right.
if you think about it.
That's
I mean,
right.
we're talking, Jerry Thomas.
Yeah.
We're going really back to the building blocks
Yeah.
of the cocktail world.
The OGs.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what would you say if somebody said, okay, so how many building blocks are there in the cocktail world?
I would
I have a number, which I'm guessing.
Oh, good.
But I don't know if that's what you would say.
I would love to hear your number because I've done a series on my channel
Yeah.
that was the 7 basic cocktails.
Oh, okay. See, that's more than I would have
The
said.
7 basic cocktails, but I also think that's maybe
Yeah.
that's too many.
Yeah.
I really do think that some it just sort of gives you an idea of where everybody sort of starts
Okay.
and then builds out of. That's the 7 basic cocktails, but really, there's really only how many do you think?
I would have said like 4.
Okay, I would probably say 2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I would say 2.
Wow.
Really, you have your aromatics
Yeah.
and you have your sours.
Yes.
Whether it has juice or whether it has bitters is
Okay.
really what we're looking at. So those would be, I would say that's the main 2 trees.
Okay.
From there, we can start to stretch out.
So what are we going to be doing today?
So I wanted to start at the cocktail.
Okay.
At the cocktail. It was originally called the Whiskey Sling or the Brandy Sling. Eventually became known as the Whiskey Cocktail. Some people have different theories on why it's called the cocktail. Some people think it has to do with the spoon. At the end right here. Some people think there used to be a rooster at the end of it. Some people think it had to do with this guy, the croquetier, which is an egg cup.
Yeah.
They think that Americans can't say croquetier, so cocktail came out of it. That's all fine. But really, the cocktail started off utilitarian. It was a necessity.
Yes.
We've all woken up and had the worst hangover of our lives.
Yes.
And because every hangover you ever had
Yeah.
is because you can't remember anything else.
True.
It's the worst hangover of your life.
Yeah.
And so the cocktail actually started off as a not necessarily
Hair of the dog.
Yeah, well, not yeah, absolutely, yeah, hair of the
Yeah.
dog. So after the cock crows, first thing you're supposed to drink is the cocktail. So
Yeah.
it tails the cock crow.
Yeah.
But really, it wasn't meant to be all that delicious. It was meant to be helpful.
To bring you back alive.
To bring you back alive. So the
Yeah.
3 ingredients that really just sort of made this thing so iconic are meant to be medicine, some pick-me-up, and a little bit of hair of the dog. So we're going to be actually starting with an old-fashioned.
Okay.
We've discussed the old-fashioned before. We know a lot about the old-fashioned. The old-fashioned is named as such because for some reason, when people are drinking, they get a little daring and want to try new things.
Yeah.
So they started putting all kinds of weird new stuff into the old-fashioned. So by the time that came around, everybody had a way to make the whiskey sling. So people eventually said, I just want an old-fashioned whiskey sling, if I could, or an old-fashioned whiskey cocktail. And they dropped the old-fashioned, or they dropped the whiskey part, and they just said the old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So that's we're going to be making
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. So actually, why don't you make this one? I think that'll be kind of fun.
Okay.
It's very simple. Very, very simple cocktail. And we're going to start here with some of those. Those are just sugar cubes.
Yep.
Drop an easy sugar cube in there. The sugar cube, before we had coffee, readily available before we had, quick bump of cocaine in the morning that I'm sure some people are out there doing.
Yes.
We had sugar ready to go.
Yeah.
We actually still see this all the time. Breakfast cereals are very sugary.
Yep.
Muffins.
Yep.
Breakfast cake. Basically.
Pancakes. Syrup.
Exactly. Like you would think that would be a bonkers thing to start your day with, but it does help.
Yep.
That sugar going.
So of course now we need some bitters.
So now of course we need some bitters. So why not go with some old-fashioned Angostura bitters? These are aromatics, and we call them bitters, not necessarily because they are bitter. There is of course some bitterness to them.
Yeah.
But more because it comes from the term bitter herb and bitter root, which is medicine. If you've ever,
you smell it. I mean, it does smell.
Very much. It's got all those
medicinal.
It's plants and bark and all that stuff. Got all that stuff in there.
Herbaceous.
Yeah, very herbaceous. So really, more than anything, this is going to help with your stomach. So
it's like Fernet Branca then, kind of in a way.
So Fernet Branca is an Amaro, which is a bitter. Absolutely, it's like Campari. Campari is a bitter. Aperol is a bitter. I have some of this cut, a Razzmatazzi.
Yeah.
These are all bitters. Now these come in larger bottles and are a little bit more, let's say, palatable.
Razzmatazzi.
Razzmatazzi.
Ramazzotti.
Ramazzotti. I've always called it Razzmatazzi.
Razzmatazzi?
Razzmatazzi.
Oh, yeah. Ramazzotti.
To be very honest,
actually a famous Italian singer.
Eros
Ramazzotti.
Ramazzotti. I've never, to be very honest, I've never heard it said out loud.
What do you call it? Razzmatazzi?
Razzmatazzi.
Razzmatazzi.
Razzmatazzi. I've literally only ever seen it written. I've only ever seen it written on menus. Razzmatazzi.
Okay.
Yeah. This stuff a little bit more palatable than the rest of that. And you've actually you have perfectly done that. That's exactly what you want.
That's how I always do it. I just let it soak.
Absolutely.
But not sit in a lake.
Right. That's the way to do it.
And then I muddle it.
Easy.
A little bit.
Yeah. Do we have a muddler? We must. If we don't have a muddler, we can always. Oh, we have a muddler right here.
Oh, right there.
Right there.
There we go.
Now, if you don't have a muddler, of course, you can just take the back of a spoon, crush like that, or just your finger.
Yeah.
You can do. Listen, you're about to put alcohol on it.
That's true. Whatever bacteria is on your finger.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Will be killed.
Yeah, you're about to get drunk. Do you really care about those bacteria? No. Not doing your body any favors to begin with.
There we go.
Cool. Now, the cool part about this is if you have those two ingredients, most places have sugar. All you gotta do is buy a bottle of Angostura.
Yep.
Basically, for most people, a bottle, you can buy a big bottle. That's a lifetime supply for most people.
For sure.
You can really just sort of choose what you want to put in there after this. So, would you like to put in? I would recommend against the real clear liquors, but do you want to try something different? We've done whiskeys. Do you want to do like a tequila or a brandy or a rum old fashioned?
Let's do a rum
old fashioned. Let's do a rum old fashioned.
Like
so
that.
Reach back here.
Do we have a gold?
Yeah, so I think this Eldorado 21 would be really nice, or the Eldorado 12 would be good. I think that's great. Yeah, throw that in there.
Right now.
So the other thing about this too is we sometimes get a little precise for our own. We think we've become scientists. We put on those lab coats and whatnot. Really, you can put this in to taste. Especially with this. With this drink. So you want to put in 2 ounces, put in 2 ounces. You want to put in 1.5 ounces.
Yeah.
You want to put in 1 ounce.
I don't think there's even.
I would say put the rest of it in there.
Yeah, probably, because I don't think there's much.
I think that's about 2.5 ounces.
2.5?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. I think it'll be perfect with a big ice cube,
Yeah.
and then
we have an ice cube right here. We'll just chop this up.
So we'll still put it back on the shelf.
Yeah.
Pretend like it's full.
Now,
I mean, sugar does take a little while, obviously, to melt.
Obviously, yeah, just a touch, but we're going to stir it up anyway. Just gonna crack one of these guys.
So rum is gonna make this obviously a little bit more sweeter.
Sure.
Than, a
well, and it also
whiskey.
Well, some of these rums too are gonna be less sweet than bourbons. Bourbons made of corn, etc. So really, that's what I'm saying is there is no perfect recipe for every single liqueur, so you can really start to figure it out. Here, do you want to give that a stir?
So this would now be called a what?
A rum old fashioned.
A rum old fashioned.
Or you can call it a rum sling.
Yeah.
You can call it a rum cocktail. I know that it's always fun to bring in the bells and whistles and go crazy with the vanilla pastes and the pea pod from the butterflies and all that stuff. Always really nice to do that, but it is also nice to go back to this to remember sort of
Where it came from.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Back to your roots.
Back to your roots.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah, you don't want to get too far away from this formula. Eventually, you just start making, vanilla lattes, and there are places to do that.
That's the thing. I do think that sometimes this is a very hard orange.
Can I be very?
Or is it this
I think
thing?
it's that thing. I think that thing is.
'cause I don't know
I think this
what-
thing might need a sharpen or two. Yeah, there are visible jags in it, so
okay.
maybe just a
This-
quick. Yeah.
This isn't really doing that much.
That's all right.
Okay. And no, I think it's fantastic. Sometimes less is more. You don't
Yeah.
always have to have the bells and whistles on something
Right.
to make it really fantastic, you know?
And we don't normally reach for the Eldorado 12 or
No.
the Eldorado 21 because in most cocktails those sort of go underappreciated. But for this,
Cheers.
cheers to you.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 3.5 ounces
Yeah.
of rum in there.
That'll put hair on your chest.
So from here, with this basic formula, we have a sweet, we have a bitter, and we have some booze.
Yeah.
If we wanted to switch out those bitters, we could always throw in some of this guy. If we wanted to switch that out, you could throw in some Fernet Branca. And then the fun part is switching out the sweeteners.
Ooh, okay.
And probably the most famous replacement for sweeteners is going to be sweet vermouth, which if you do that stuff right there, basically all that stuff, you have a Manhattan.
Yep.
Which is why the Manhattan is so popular. It follows that exact formula.
Yeah.
And it works. The formulas do work, Tammy.
So what do we go? Where do we go from there?
Great. So the old fashioned was the first cocktail, or the old fashioned style was the first cocktail.
Yeah.
But before that, and hundreds of years before that, we had other mixed drinks.
Of course.
We had punches.
Yep.
Punches, of course, the word, pancha. Five, the 5 ingredients: 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, 4 of weak, and a little spice to make it all nice. This was not a mind-boggling.
Indian.
Yeah, from the Indian. Yeah, exactly. When the British, what is it? The British Shipping Company, the East India Trading Company. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah. They were basically, they found all these great spices, so they were able to take tea. They would take all of sort of everything that they had, throw it into one large pot, and they would have these
And
punches.
this is all in India.
So this is actually more than in India. This is. These are traveling pirates and privateers
cool.
and
Yeah.
whatnot, because they were able
course.
to sort of go from place to place and make these punches. Eventually, the same way that the old fashioned or the whiskey cocktail was sort of utilitarian, sort of helpful for us.
Yeah.
We started to see that these sailors were just having teeth falling out of their face as they were gone
That's
for
scurvy.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
we had to find new ways to combat scurvy. So they took these lesser punches. They started making things like called cordials. So the lime and the lemon would stick around for a lot longer. And then they started adding them together. Making things like grogs.
Yep.
Grogs named after old Grogham. He was a pirate that wore a Grogham coat. Started making these like wonderful concoctions, and it started becoming, the British sailors would be given rations. And in those rations, suddenly, lime juice started being poured into them, and that's how we get things like the gimlet. The gimlet became a big one. The daiquiri is sort of based on that. The Tommy's Margarita based on that. These are all different things we can do with this. So let's go ahead and make a gimlet.
Okay.
Very simple, very easy, and it is in the style of a sour. Now we can do it. You know what? I'm gonna lend you these. You and I will both make a gimlet because I could use a gimlet too. And then I'll make mine in this. Because again,
you're on a ship.
Yeah,
Or
you're on a
whatnot.
ship, right? So you brought your, country cottage farms little thing. So mason jar. So let's go ahead and make this. Now the cool thing about these as well, you don't really need to measure these out.
Okay.
Obviously, eventually, it's nice to get them all measured out, but for us, we don't need to. Now, I don't always teach the gimlet when I'm teaching these like history of the cocktail classes.
Yeah.
Because technically, the way we're about to do it is
Yeah.
incorrect.
Oh.
It's incorrect. They would have had a cordial. They would have had, so a correct way to make a gimlet is with that roses lime, bright green, glowing cordial in a bottle.
The glow in the dark
Exact
stuff.
Yeah, that's
basically.
that's the
Yeah.
correct way to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like we can break a couple protocol
Sure.
and make it here because while that stuff is fine to have around your house, it always just tastes a little better to have a fresh lime going in there. So
Yep.
what we want to do, here, I will use, just to show you guys sort of what we're up to, you can use a jigger.
Okay.
I'll use this. We're going to take this guy. We're going to fill this up with some lime juice here.
So is it just like a half ounce kind of
So
situation?
basically what you're going to do is you're going to go 2, 1, half.
Okay.
So whatever amount you put the lime juice in,
Yeah.
you're going to do double the gin
Yeah.
and half the sugar.
Okay.
That's the idea. So 2, 1 half is a pretty, not always a perfect way to do it, but it does give you the results, and after that you can start to adjust.
I find it interesting that it's not then that balanced sugar and lime wise.
What do you mean?
Well, you said 2, 1 half.
Yeah. So 2 gin,
Yeah.
1 lime, a half
Sugar.
Sugar. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me do 1 lime.
This lime might not be any good.
Yeah, I can only make maybe 3/4 out of it.
That's all right. All right. So
Okay.
there we go. We'll get that to right about there. Pour this in. Then we're gonna take our gin. I have some gin right here. This is Uncle Val's Botanical.
All right.
Just throw this guy right in here at there and there.
So I'm going to do a little less because it was only 3/4.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So I'll do 1.
Yeah, again, listen, if your lime isn't giving you all the juice, that's why we started with the lime.
Yeah.
That's the most that's the least
Expensive.
well, and also the least reliable.
Okay.
You know, we always know
Yeah.
exactly how much sugar we're getting out of
I
this.
did
so
think a lot more juice was going to come out of these
right.
limes. I did do the famous Cush
I saw
roll.
that. I watched the roll.
Didn't-
It was I watched it go instinctual.
Oh,
You
yeah.
pulled it up and immediately,
yeah.
still talking.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm gonna put in half as much sugar,
Yep.
simple syrup, as I did lime juice, and that is a gimlet.
Yeah.
Very easy. Now, again, if you switch out the gin for some
Tequila.
you basically have a lesser margarita,
Margarita,
or a Tommy's margarita, more or less. That's not gonna fit.
Might fit in here.
Here, I'll
though.
give you that one.
Go.
Yep. Hilarious.
The aggravator.
Yeah, the aggravator. It's gonna.
Oh.
We have. Make sure this stays in.
Oh, yeah.
I demand in my contract that this stays in.
This is like the Jeopardy timer.
Yeah, I'll take what doesn't fit for 200, Alex.
Ah,
There we go.
woohoo!
I guess I have to say Mayim. I'll take what doesn't fit for 200. Mayim. Mayim Bialik.
Bialik.
Yeah. I'm a Ken Jennings guy myself. So give that a shake.
Okay.
I'll do the dancing.
It's pretty cool though. You can actually see now what's going on in your
Oh, yeah, right?
in your jar.
Yeah.
No.
My first few bars that I worked at all had the Boston shakers, which are, the tin on one side, but then the glass on the other side.
Oh yeah.
Which are great. They're fine. The problem with them, of course, bartenders are untrainable, basically untrainable monkeys.
Okay.
And they would always take the glass part and go into the ice.
Yeah.
And for 98% of the time, that worked.
Oh.
Just get in there, get the whole thing
The
up.
rest would fly off.
Well, no, what happens is you put that in there and the glass breaks.
Oh.
You are done for the night.
Right, yeah.
You have to, I promised myself when I quit my last job as a bartender,
Yeah.
I would take one glass and crack it in each well, and then go to the back
Yeah.
and crack one in the ice machine. Service is done. No, there was a pandemic. Instead, I didn't get to quit. I just sort of fizzled out.
Yeah.
So,
Well.
they are lucky. You're using a Hawthorne strainer.
Yep.
I am going to be just using this little guy right here. This is a slotty spoon.
Yeah, I like it.
This-
See, they would have had that on
Sure.
boats, and
Yeah.
and if not, you've always got fingers.
Yeah, you always have fingers. I mean,
always
this
have fingers.
also works just
Yeah.
as well right there. So,
Because then I don't think they would have had a coupe glass.
they certainly wouldn't have known.
You know?
No.
So-
do you know how much? Do you know how much gin they got? You know how much was in their rations?
Was it a daily ration?
It was
or
a daily ration.
Daily ration.
And that happened. They got a daily ration up until like 1978.
Wow.
Like if you were working on a British ship, you got a daily ration of either gin or rum, depending on where you were, per day. How much do you think it was?
How many ounces?
How many ounces?
5.
16. You
What?
got a pint. You got a pint of liquor per day.
Wow.
There was the most important guy on the ship. He was a pusser. He was the guy that pussed out the rum. He was the one that sort of gave it out.
Yeah.
And that's where things like proof came from. You had to pour the gin or the rum onto some gunpowder,
Oh.
and then light it on fire to prove
Ooh, yeah.
that it could
It
still light
lights
on
on
fire,
fire.
because they were watering it down. The sailors like, I'm not going after the sharks without all the stuff. So. That is, I always think that's interesting. That up until you think that the daily rations
That
of
is
rum
crazy.
were ended in the 1700s. Nope, it's 1975
Wow.
or 1978 maybe a little later. I just took one of these guys, chopped the top off, so I have this little bit floating right there. You're much better at this decorating than I am, so take whatever part of the
I
lime
would
you
have
want.
just done a little thing like that.
Oh yeah, look at that.
You know. There we go. Make it a little fancy.
Yeah, hey, look at this.
You know, why not?
Okay. I know that you and I are not really in danger of any kind of scurvy.
No, not that I know of.
No.
But you never know.
You never know.
Our teeth haven't fallen out yet.
It's to keeping our teeth in our skulls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cheers. Oh yeah.
Come on.
I mean, this is the classic naughty lemonade section
Yep.
again.
The
Where-
sours, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, it's always the sours are just naughty lemonades.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And kind of a little bit similar to when you have those hard seltzers.
Yeah.
Those White Claws and Trulies
Right.
and whatnot. This definitely falls into that category too, right?
Yeah, and it's so simple.
Simple yet great, and
Yeah.
gets the job done.
And you can make it in huge
Yeah.
batches.
So we've done now the old-fashioned,
The old fashioned. So we've done an aromatic.
the rum old-fashioned.
The rum old fashioned, yeah.
Now we've gone to the sours.
The sours.
This will fit still into what I thought were the 4
Sure.
cocktails.
Okay, what are the other two, do you think?
Categories? Fizzes.
Sure, of course, some bubbles in there. I think that's probably a
Yeah,
good.
I thought that would
Yeah,
fall
I
into
think that
one
works.
of them.
I think that a fizz is. You're probably right with the fizz. I mean, I know in my 7, a fizz is one for sure.
Okay. And the other one was actually doing just equal part
Interesting.
cocktails, like the Negroni, like the.
So you are actually mentioning the next thing we're gonna make.
Oh.
Really, what I think the next the next thing we should talk about is a daisy. So a daisy would be my next one, which is it's very similar to what we are doing here, the sour.
Yep.
However, we are now going to be sweetening with some liqueur.
Okay.
So
Yeah, the daisies are a classic, really, that we've made it before on
Yeah.
the show. But yeah, you're right. A lot of drinks actually stem from,
Absolutely.
from the daisy.
So some famous daisies that we can talk about. Of course, there is the margarita, the most famous daisy there is.
That is daisy in Spanish.
That's right.
Margarita.
Margarita is daisy.
Is the daisy. Yeah.
That's right. So we can talk about that one. We can talk about one of my favorite drinks of all time, which is the Mai Tai. Is a daisy. It's sweetened in part by some orange liqueur. We could talk about one of the great daisies that's is one of the least one of the most under and overrated at the exact same time drinks.
Yeah.
The Cosmopolitan
Cosmo, yeah.
is a great daisy.
That's what they say. They even say the Cosmo is basically just, it's a vodka daisy.
It's a vodka daisy.
It's a vodka daisy.
That's all it is.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
But we are going to, and I know we're going a little gin heavy today, but we're going to be making a gin daisy, just to sort of show what it is. Now, the term daisy is kind of weird. Do you know how we got to the term daisy?
No, I don't.
It's a bad game of telephone. You know that game of telephone?
Yeah.
So when we add curacao, orange curacao to a drink,
Yep.
we would call that fancy. When we would add this stuff to it or some absinthe to it, to a cocktail, we would call that improved.
Okay.
And then when we add orange curacao, we'd say that that's a fancy drink.
Okay.
So if you walk in and you say, I want a fancy old fashioned,
Okay.
they would put a little bit of orange curacao.
curacao.
So now this drink's going crazy. This is a gin fancy. This is a fancy gin. Can I have a fancy gin cocktail? Fancy gin. Fancy. Daisy.
Really? That's how that
That's
works?
how it came about.
That makes zero sense.
It's how it came about. As the cocktail spread,
Yeah.
People just didn't they didn't know what was going on. I heard about this thing.
Yeah.
I heard about this thing. There is one explanation that it came from a book, but it's very somebody said this drink's as good as a daisy, and then they were like that. That doesn't make any sense because it is fancy. It is the daisy, and again, we were all drunk, so we never know. But
no one knows the true story.
no one knows the true story.
If anyone does, please let us know in the chat. Let us
and
know
also,
in the chat.
stop haunting us because you've been dead for many, many years.
Yes.
So we're going to be making a gin daisy,
Okay.
Which is just sort of one of those. I'll have you make this one too.
Okay.
I'll jump on here as well. Just make two of them. We've got nowhere to be.
Yeah.
A gin daisy is pretty simple, and it follows if you do what we were saying earlier, which is you can start swapping ingredients out. You can start to find ways to make all these drinks really work out for you. So this is going to be 2-1-1/2 is basically how it's going to be, but it's going to be at slightly different proportions normally. So I'll explain what I mean by that so that you can start to build your daisies.
Yes.
But let's begin with...
Because that made no sense.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what
Yes.
measurements are happening.
You are here to make me make sense. That's why we have you. So I probably should have explained this before. So we're going to start here with some lemon. We are going to be putting in, just to start off, so with cocktail stuff, you usually do the lowest common denominator. So 2-1-1/2 is what we're looking at.
Okay.
So we're going to do 1 ounce or 1 part, I'm going to do it in a different thing, 1 part lemon juice. Is this making any sense?
No.
Okay, so it's going to be 2 parts gin, 1 part lemon,
Yeah.
1 part orange curacao,
Yeah.
and then half part
Yeah.
of our secret ingredient. So 1
So 1 ounce.
one ounce,
If
or
I can get an ounce out of this.
if you can get
I
an
don't
ounce out of
think I
that.
can.
So whatever you get out of this,
No, it's going to be a half.
you're going to double. So then you're just going to double that with gin.
Okay.
There we go. So I have one of these. I have 2 tablespoons, which does actually equal
it's about a half.
1 ounce. 2 tablespoons is 1 ounce, because 1 tablespoon equals half an ounce. So I got 1 ounce of lemon juice. I don't want to put any seeds in here.
I have half.
Great. So then you're just going to double. So you want to do the exact same amount.
Yeah, what do you say? 2-1-1/2?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, 2-1-1/2, but this is the 1.
Oh, that's the 1.
This is the 1. You know what I didn't think about is some orange curacao. I'll run and get it. Oh, Dean's gonna go steal some real quick.
Well, then I need more lemon then.
Okay, great.
Should we do that?
Yeah.
Because then because I want it to be. Otherwise, it's going to get mathematically.
It does get it. Yeah.
Way too complicated
You
for
start
my
to.
brain.
Yeah. I'm saying this as if this is a normal thing that most people think about, but.
Yeah. Okay.
No need to run. We got nowhere to be. There we go.
All right, that's 1.
So in the there it goes. So
Oh.
in the this is not the right cap. In the sour we just made.
Yes.
We
gimlet?
sweetened with sweetener. We
Yes.
sweetened it with some
Simple
sugar.
syrup.
Yeah, simple syrup.
Yes.
With this, we are going to be sweetening with orange curacao. It doesn't always have to be orange curacao that we are sweetening with. It just has to be a liqueur in order to make it a daisy. So, however much of that last stuff you just put in, put the
1.
same amount of orange curacao.
Okay.
Or any other sweetener that you come across. We're still in the gin game.
Okay.
Cool?
Yes.
All right. Now,
Yep.
we're over here.
So they were the two ones. So
They
we
were the
still
two
got
ones.
a 2, and we have a half.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Eventually, you will see the matrix, and this will all make sense, how this is all building up. But right now, it does seem like it's just numbers and whatnot. But eventually, it does make sense. So yeah, double whatever you just put of each of those
Okay, that
in
would
there.
be 2. So this is a 1.5.
Yeah.
And then let me put a little half. Okay.
So for the sidecar,
Yep.
which is another great
Yep.
daisy, it's a whiskey sidecar
Yep.
or a brandy sidecar. We would instead of for our next ingredient, we would sugar the rim. For the tequila daisy, the margarita, we would salt the rim.
Yep.
For the mai tai, little orgeat in this thing.
Okay.
For the cosmopolitan, a little bit of cranberry juice.
Yep.
But for this, we're gonna be putting in some grenadine.
Nice.
So we need half of whatever the one was of grenadine. So 1 tablespoon for me.
So that was a half
Yeah.
for me.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
I mean, a lot of people can see then the I'm sure the connection
Yeah.
to all of these drinks with these ingredients. Do you
Yeah.
mind putting an ice cube
I
in
would
there
love
for
to.
me?
I'm gonna put you. I'm gonna give you the 2 agitators right here,
Okay.
right there.
All right.
We're gonna give this a shake.
Let's do it.
Ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I felt it break apart inside there. Have you ever sat in a sidecar?
Huh?
Have you ever sat in a sidecar?
I have never once. I don't think I've ever touched a motorcycle.
Oh, really?
I don't think in my life I have been close enough to reach out and touch a motorcycle. That is not. These are Caricos. They might be a little difficult to crack.
Frozen closed.
Yeah. Do it with the elbow again.
Wait.
Yeah, right there. You were gonna break an elbow doing that.
What happened? I loosened it.
Thank you very much.
You know, don't you hate that when you're opening a jar or
Yeah.
a bottle or something like, I can't, and they're like,
You know,
yeah,
I have
loosened it.
I have found, Tammy, that it is more fun to loosen it, like to actually loosen it, and then hand it back to somebody, because
Yeah.
then they do feel like,
Yes.
I've done the right thing.
strong woman.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly. We're gonna need some glassware, but I don't know what glassware we're gonna use.
You want to put, I mean, this is.
Yeah, that's a great one, and I'll take this one.
Okay.
Cool. Go ahead and just get all this out of here.
Yep. See, the only one that really had the ice cube was the old fashioned. If you
Yeah.
think about it. So we're not really diluting anything but the old fashioned.
Correct.
Which I like though.
Yeah.
Because of course you're gonna get the sugar
Right.
later on.
Yeah.
Unless
absolutely.
you want to put obviously an ice cube in there.
I'm gonna put an ice
Is
cube
this-
just in mine.
Does that normally it doesn't?
Normally it wouldn't.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want
True.
with these guys.
Okay.
Again, the name of this game is sort of I feel like it's important to take away a lot of the mystery
Yeah.
of what bartending is. I feel like people get very intimidated by it and then end up just drinking the same rum and coke that they've always drank, as opposed to just finding.
That's what I used to do.
Yeah.
I remember reading things on a menu, going, don't know what that is, don't
Yep.
know what that is, don't know what that is, don't know what that is.
Yep.
Rum and Coke.
Yeah.
Please.
And I don't
It's
want to.
too scary.
I don't want to break the illusion that I am some, that I'm in my bar every night, like creating a new
You
brand. So that is for my job.
You are
If I.
lab coat, probably no t-shirt.
Yeah.
I would say just goggles.
Yeah.
Doing this. This is Kush. You're like the crazy scientist
Yeah.
guy.
That's that. Now I love
Potions
that.
and smoke.
I love that is my legend.
Yes.
But I drink probably the same 4 cocktails all the time. The one good thing about me about my show is that I force myself to make new cocktails all the time.
Yeah.
So that more people can find cocktails that they might like, so that they can have that stuff lying around. But most people don't have a setup like ours
Well, have
or
you
set up like
amazed
mine.
yourself with new cocktails?
I have, absolutely.
You have?
We
Okay,
did
there
we
go.
did one
cheers.
Cheers to you. Did that ankle breaker a little while ago.
that's right,
And that is
ankle
one
breaker,
that
yeah.
makes it into my rotation all the time.
Oh well, look at that.
So
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, gin daisy.
Gin Daisy. I mean, yeah. Right? It's classic. It's good.
And from here, if you don't want to do the grenadine,
I love the grenadine in it.
it's so good.
Brings that tangy thing to it.
But yeah, if you want it a little bit more tropical, grab some orgeat, grab some falernum, grab something else that will go in there. If you want to switch out the tequila but make everything else the same, this is mix and match. These are great formulas. 2, 1, 1/2 is really 1.5.
And it doesn't mean ounces; it means parts. Right?
So it'd actually be 1.5 ounces, 3/4, 3/4, half, and then you can adjust be a short half. So that's why it's 2, 1, 1/2. But from here, the world is your oyster. You can really start making whatever you want by taking whatever.
A nipple on there?
Oh yeah, I love the little nip right on the end. Can we just get a close up of that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Didn't
mean to
there it is.
cut you off, but I was just
I think it's important.
distracted by your.
I mean, Tammy, you and I, that's one thing you and I share in common. If we see a nipple, we're going to talk about the nipple.
Of course.
Yeah, if we see a nipple.
It's in the middle of your sentence of very important info.
Yes.
I had to. Sorry.
Yes, the General Council of the UN. Nipple.
Yep.
I would say that absolutely. Even if it's Kofi Annan's, if it's Ban Ki-moon's, I'm gonna mention a nipple.
Yep.
See a nipple.
We have a
say
nuclear
nipple.
war on the nipple.
Yeah.
Yep.
See a nipple, say a nipple.
Yep.
I believe is the phrase. So to see a nipple, say a nipple. Cheers to you.
Yep. Let's bring them all back out.
Yeah, let's bring them all back up.
Right. Super.
I didn't make the first one, but I got this guy right here.
That's true. I mean, still got a lot of this left because I did underestimate how much was
you have those, I believe they're called thirsty eyes.
It didn't look like a lot
No.
at all. And then there was half a gallon of rum in there.
Yeah, that's how that works sometimes.
Yes. But here we have really a nice little trifecta of building blocks
Absolutely.
for so many delicious cocktails.
And what's great, honestly, you take this one, put it into a tall glass, add some soda water, you have your fizz.
Yeah.
So that's the fourth base, that's the fourth type of cocktail there.
I think this would also be really great, this exact same structure, but with vodka.
Yeah.
I know in the chat,
Absolutely.
probably someone like Paul Bernardo is going to
Also
say.
liking that. And you know,
no.
also in this one would be some champagne.
Champagne.
Add a
would be
little bit of
fantastic.
those bubbles to make it a long drink too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Well, there we have it, everyone.
have it.
Back to basics. I
Back
think it
to
was
basics.
good that we kind of,
Yeah. And now I
Take it
think
back a little.
people can start to now see the cocktails that we're making and say, oh, I recognize that one.
Yeah.
That is a...
I've seen that before,
Yeah.
or I remember seeing that on a menu. So that I think that's also important.
Yeah.
That you can start recognizing some of the names and be like, oh wait a minute, I had a Cosmo once, so
Right,
that
right.
mean I would actually then like maybe
Daisy,
the Daisy,
Yeah.
or I would like the sidecar, or I would like I think that's
Absolutely.
good. I know that's how it helped me.
Yeah.
Knowing which categories these were in to make me more familiar with some cocktails that I wasn't so familiar with
Absolutely.
before. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah.
It was great
So
that we
welcome.
did that.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to everyone who's in the chat, which is probably also going to be us.
Yeah.
So shout
Yeah.
out to us.
What up, us?
Who are in the chat right
Yeah.
now. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And we'll be back in a week's time.
right.
In the meantime, of course, always watch Cush's show, which is on tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Pacific Standard Time.
And come to October 1st at the Tonga Hut for Dr. Cush's Exotic Meetup.
That's right. That's going to be super fun
Should be.
as well.
Hope so.
Hopping over, of course, to our Instagram, our TikTok page. Check out all our shorts on YouTube as well. Patreon, all those wonderful things.
Everything.
Thank you so much. I'm Tammy Harrison. This is Scott Cushman. Cheerio.
Cheerio. Cheers.
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 Cheers.